You're still watching Breakfast Daily on City TV. Our hashtag is Breakfast Daily, and our WhatsApp line is 0550-585832. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your thoughts on everything we're discussing, and we're going to be getting into our discussion on the Health Services Workers Union strike that is currently ongoing. Now, my colleague and our parliamentary correspondent, Duke Mensa-Opoku, has joined me here to join the discussion. But before we talk, why don't we take a look at something that our colleague, Enosafo, produced for us. Now, she was at the Mamprobi Polyclinic, and this is what's on the ground there.
Some departments in hospitals nationwide have been deserted following the strike by the Health Services Workers Union. The union is on strike in protest of its calls for better conditions of service, which it says have not been fairly addressed. A meeting with government and the union on the subject on Tuesday was inconclusive. City News' checks at the Mamprobi Polyclinic revealed a deserted outpatients department with a red cloth hanging from the window of the records office. One of the patients shared her frustrations with City News.
But oh,
banana is almost strike.
But doctor said me home so some for no call. Now call me say
The story was no different at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital. Patients were seen loitering and they were unable to access their records and proceed to the medical doctors. Some of the patients who spoke to City News are asking the government to address the union's agitations since they are the ones feeling the impact of the strike.
A patient who had an accident about 1 month, 1 week ago, and she came for physiotherapy. And then we are here for dressing. Yeah, but when we went to the physio for today, they said they would attend to her, but after today, they will not be attending to her until the strike is called off. So we are hoping that the government will meet their needs so that they will return to work.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. And I say near him. Number me card.
Oh, there be me card.
By then, no kind.
Oh, I'm sure minty years more slack. And no coffee.
Then Dr.
Oh, Dr. Shaw, a beer, Dr. Sham, or Mam date. Mam date.
My data San Fabra.
Mukofabra.
Me buy no almost say almost strike. But me ban so ya no operation. Nti na wo say me ba be hu doctor ACC the way ni man see abet na ha but say o ma be fa no edune ko but say na first ya me ba na nka hanom ye we but any dey say you slow.
All right, and that was a report from our colleague Enosafo on what's been happening at the Mamprobi Polyclinic and at the Ridge or Accra Regional Hospital with regard to this Health Services Union strike. All right. Now, as I mentioned before, my colleague Duke Mensa-Opoku is here. Good morning, Duke.
Morning, Kokui.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Great to have you here. Yeah. Now, we'll be chatting more about this. Before we get into our discussion, though, this is a nationwide strike. Yeah. Let's take a look at what's been happening in Tamale. Our colleague Maxwell Sook is up there, and this is what he found in Tamale.
According to the Public Relations Officer of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, the industrial action by the Health Workers Union is having a toll on the effective administration of the facility. He confirmed that some wards currently have dead bodies unattended to, a situation he bemoaned.
How to get rid of corpses, that's the patients who eventually die in the hospital, how to get them transported from the wards to the mortuary is becoming problematic. Fortunately, we have been able to prevail on some of our staff to aid us in decongesting the areas where corpses have been found, and this is actually having a toll on us.
Aside this, a look around the hospital shows that the facility has been engulfed in filth because the workers are not on hand to clean the premises. It was clear that the premises and the various wards in the hospital have not been cleaned since Monday when the strike was declared. According to management, some nurses in a few of the wards have taken up upon themselves to clean the space to maintain hygiene. Basic medical consumables, which are usually handled by the staff, have also run out.
New patients are not being registered, and most of the areas that we operate from, that is our wards and offices, have not been cleaned since yesterday. And the place doesn't actually look tidy, but the place looks unkept. Some of the wards, the nurses and other clinical staff are forced to do the cleaning in order to ensure that they have a safe and secure workplace to deliver their services free of infections. And membership of the union to hold the staff who are in charge of water supply and supplies of logistics and other consumables. As we speak, the clinicians, that is the doctors and nurses, are struggling to get common items such as gloves, cotton, gauze, and other logistics that they need.
So that was excerpts from a report by our colleague Maxwell Sook, bringing us scenes from what's happening at the Tamale Teaching Hospital. And again, this is all with regard to the Health Services Union workers' strike. All right, Duke, welcome again.
Thank you.
That last report was quite distressing. To hear that there are corpses basically that cannot be transported to the mortuary because of this strike. And imagine being a patient in a hospital, maybe in a ward with someone who passes away, and that corpse is there until somebody decides, okay, it has to be moved, all because of this. It must be extremely distressing.
Very, very distressing, and it can even worsen your condition. I mean, because this has seen such scenes. I mean, somebody, and if you're in a hospital, you need even the atmosphere of the hospital should be curative. It should be it should be able to heal you.
Yes.
But if you find with what was just being portrayed there, it's very distressing and disheartening. But for me, the greater problem is it's a manifestation of a focus on the top of the health sector instead of the base.
Yes.
And the medical system functions in such a way that it's very systematic and graduated. So before the doctor who sits at the top, or even the nurse, would be able to function properly, you need the health records.
They need the foundation. Yes.
They need the foundation. The health records also would take the information, medical history, so that the doctor then can do a proper diagnosis and be able to. So the health system is connected in such a way. But over the years, just going through the Health Services Workers Union has been there since the colonial times, and for listening to them, over the years, their welfare has been neglected because the focus of conditions of service in the health sector is actually focused on the top instead of the base.
It's always been, hasn't it?
Yes.
Normally when we hear of strikes like that in the healthcare sector, it's doctors, it's nurses. We rarely hear about the health service workers. They're quietly doing their work, supporting the whole system. Even when the doctors and nurses sometimes go on strike, they still go to work in the past. But now they've said enough is enough.
And we are seeing the scenes. Even people who need just outpatient services, because the health records assistants are not working. It's a problem, and that's the first part of primary health care. If you go there and the basic statistics are not even taken, your pulse, temperature, other things, which even in our Ghanaian parlance, people can, even those who want to self-medicate, which is not the right thing, but even people based on their condition can decide to do something about it because of the economic condition. Now that may not be possible because those who have to do the work at the base are not there. It's quite unfortunate. I mean, always health has been considered as part of the essential services. Yes, but for them to go to that extent, it means that this is pent up anger and frustration over the years.
It means it's reached a boiling point.
Yes,
it has.
And they've decided that at this point in time, they need to let. I don't have anything against doctors or nurses. My sister is a nurse. But at this point in time, to make the whole system very functional, each and every person on that structure, on that ladder of health delivery needs to be taken care of.
Exactly.
Properly.
All right, let's check in with our colleague Hafiz Tijani, who is at the Kumasi Teaching Hospital in Kumasi, and he'll give us a good view of what's happening there as well. Again, this is the Health Services Workers Union strike. Good morning, Hafiz.
Good morning, Kuke. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Now, how about you? How are things on the ground at Kumasi Teaching Hospital?
First of all, I can't see you on set, but your voice is making me feel that you look good this morning.
Well, wow, Hafiz. I'm glad I can put a pep in your step this morning. All right. Well, I can see you, and I can see there's some activity happening around you on the ground there. Give us a picture of what it's like at the Kumasi Teaching Hospital this morning.
So, disappointment, frustration, sadness written on the faces of patients who are coming from far and near to seek medical care here at the Kumasi Teaching Hospital. And you know, the Kumasi Teaching Hospital is the biggest referral center in terms of healthcare delivery. People are coming from even outside the region. They are coming from the Northeast region, the Northern region, the Savannah regions to seek healthcare here. So you get people, or you have people coming here as early as 5 a.m. just to queue to be able to seek medical care, and they are frustrated, and they've been left stranded here at the hospital.
Do you get a sense that most of the people you're seeing there are for OPD services, or are we getting some emergency cases as well?
Well, we are told there are some arrangements by the management of the hospital to cater for emergency services. But with the OPD services, you have to assess the OPD. That's the first port of call before even going to seek other care at other facilities or other services at other facilities. And this is the main OPD of the Kumasi Teaching Hospital. And this place is one of the busiest facilities or departments here at the facility. You come here, you see a lot of people here. But since the strike by members of the Health Services Workers Union enters its third day today, people are now beginning to be aware of the issues. So you don't find a lot of people coming here. Unlike the first day you came here, people were left stranded. They didn't know about the strike. But yesterday and today, people are getting informed about the strike. And today, people who are coming, the hospital's management is also putting in place some measures. There's a roll call right now. They are giving them some numbers, some cards, so that when the members of the striking workers come back, they can be served first. So that is the activity that is ongoing here at the Kumasi Teaching Hospital, the main OPD. So the cameraman can just give us a feel of what is happening in the background, panning to the people who are taking the numbers. A lot of them are grumbling, a lot of them are frustrated. They say they have come here as early as 5 a.m. They have not been able to access healthcare. They are not happy about the situation. But this measure being put in place by the hospital's management is to assuage their disappointment and also tell them that they would not be left in terms of healthcare delivery. So you see the decks there, people are taking the numbers, and a lot of people are standing in disappointment. Some are seated, some are very sick. They brought in their relatives who are very sick, and you can see this old man in this background. He came here and he managed to sit just to wait for the numbers, but it's not that they are going to be taken care of. This is just a measure to assuage their disappointment. Let me speak to this woman here who have come to the facility. You are welcome to City TV.
Thank you.
What's happening here?
In fact, I'm also now coming. I'm working here. I'm at the speech department. So I just came and I saw a friend's husband. And they are about to pick a card. So I'm here to listen to my friend, what exactly happened. I'm also not aware of anything here. So I'm only listening. I just saw somebody and I was just sitting with them.
Okay, so let's speak to some of them who are in the queue. Papa, you're welcome to City TV.
Thank you.
What's happening here?
Pardon me?
What's happening here?
Well, I'm all the way from a Western North. Today, my doctor promised to make me an operation. And I'm here. All of a sudden, they say doctors have gone to strike. So as at now, I'm stranded. I don't know what to do.
So you are supposed to take your card here, or your records are being kept here. You have to access your records before seeing your doctor. And they are telling you those who are in charge of that are on strike.
Yes, sir. It is here that I'm supposed to take my record before seeing the doctor for the operation. And now that those who taking the record are not here. So right now I'm stranded and I don't know what to do.
Tell me how frustrated you are.
Well, you mean my sickness?
No, how frustrated are you now that you are not getting to do what you're supposed to do, coming all the way from the Western North region?
Yeah, in fact, it's unfortunately, it's very unfortunately, I do not suspect something like that will happen. And I feel today they will make me the operation so that I will be free. And now that it has happened, I have to go back without the operation. So in fact, I'm really confused.
What's the option for you now?
Pardon me?
What's the option for you now?
Well, since I can't see the doctor, I have to go back.
So this is a patient who has come all the way from the Western North region to seek medical care here. And he says he's confused. He doesn't know what to do because he cannot even access his record here before seeing the doctor. The doctor gave him an appointment day today, and he was supposed to see the doctor. Let's try and interact with other patients. Papa, Mawakaba Diba City TV.
Hello, hello.
Ubaha Eden Ekachal.
But just a no cry by any sankoy, and then also samba. But just no activities. And was a yeah, your town at Yashan. I have read in Yamembe, it's a mint being now, and Yamama cement transit. So, Uba is doctors from Kosike. It's a for Pagu, Nipa Basu Copa, Kaisen Kahaya Makra, Baby Bri, Aretani Kofi. That's the situation from this year. It's a main fun emergency. How can I go to emergency? Eh? It's a hard dream to one more.
So essentially, this man is also expressing similar frustration and disappointment that he came here even yesterday. He was not able to access healthcare.
Yeah. Hafiz, very quickly, a couple of the patients you've spoken to have said that they heard the doctors are on strike. Now, I wonder if it's just that they're getting weird communication, or maybe they just assume doctors are on strike, because as Duke and I were discussing earlier, normally when you hear of strikes in the healthcare sector, it is doctors or nurses. You rarely hear of health service workers. So I'm not sure if it's that they're not getting the right communication, or do you have a sense of what could be going on? Obviously, because the service workers are on strike, they can't go through the proper registration, etc. But is there anything happening with the doctors that would prevent them from getting their surgery, or is it because of this strike that the doctors are also putting on hold surgery, like the one for the gentleman from Western North?
Well, doctors are working. Other facilities like the Kumasi South Hospital, when I was there yesterday, doctors were busily working. They were attending to patients. Nurses were also working, except that because these service workers are on strike, they are not getting the numbers they used to have. They are not getting the kind of business they have to attend to a lot of patients. So you find some of the nurses at other facilities idling. Some of them are just seated, not doing anything. But you have doctors attending to special cases and other emergency cases.
Okay. I wonder, the gentleman from Western North, again, I wonder if someone has spoken to him to explain clearly what the situation is. But he kept saying that he's not able to see the doctor. So I'm curious as to why he's not able to see his doctor.
Well, for him, he has to access the services here before going to see the doctor. And that is the major setback for him. He's not able to go through that process. So he doesn't even think he's going to see the doctor because he's not able to cross this boundary to go and see the doctor.
That's such a shame, isn't it? Such a shame. Right, Hafiz, I'm sure we'll check back with you a bit later as you go about and give us a perspective of what's happening at the Kumasi Teaching Hospital. So thanks, and we'll talk to you soon again.
Thank you.
All right, that's our colleague Hafiz Tijani speaking from Kumasi Teaching Hospital in Kumasi, giving us a sense of what's happening there. As we could see, people have traveled from far to assess health services. The gentleman, again, from Western North, who's supposed to have surgery today, now that's not going to happen for him and he has to travel all the way back. We don't even know what his condition is and how dangerous it is for him to even be moving up and down for those distances. I mean, this is quite tragic to watch.
I empathize with them, but the truth of them, I see some of them. Yeah. And this is one of the major referral centers in the country. That explains why someone would come from Western North to get the kind of specialist or services at Kumasi Teaching Hospital. And there's also a notion in Kumasi. This is G. I mean, that's how it's called in Kumasi. Okay. Yes, after the contractor who put it together. So everybody who says G is referring to Kumasi Teaching Hospital. And G is like I mean, in terms of it's where you would get service you wouldn't get from everywhere else, because that's where all the consultants, all the top level medics are. So if you have a situation and you go everywhere else and you think that you cannot get medical care, this is where you have to go to.
All right, Duke, let's touch base with Kweku David again. He's at the Adabraka Polyclinic. He's going to give us an update on what's happening there. Hi, Kweku D.
Hi.
Have you relocated? I hear now you're at the Rich Hospital. Hello, Kweku.
Regional Hospital, also known as the Rich Hospital. I'm here because the activity at the Adabraka Polyclinic was really slow. There was very few people around. As at 8 o'clock, there was maybe, 10, 15 people. There's a couple of staff also walking around. We saw some midwives, some nurses, and so on. So we moved over here to see if there's more activity here. And there has been a fair bit of activity here. As you can see in our shots, there's a whole lot of people here who are seated waiting to be attended to. We spoke to one of the security men who was helping organize the crowds earlier on, and he was frustrated because the numbers of people that are here, he feels that some people's cases are more important than other cases, and so those who are important should be attended to first, which of course is the responsibility of triage nursing, so that's the way triage nursing do. They decide who goes first, right? But they're sitting out here at the OPD, and I'm going to try and engage him for just a moment to see what his comments will be as far as this is concerned. Some of the things he said to us earlier on, let's see if he can reiterate those things on air with some of the frustrations that he's having with the crowds that are here this morning. Sir, Mr. Christopher, yes, sir. So you were saying earlier on about trying to organize the crowds and making sure that things are done orderly and all of that. What was your frustration with what's going on here?
Actually, we, the workers, are here. Some of them are, let's say, the union. They came to us and tell us we have to stop working from, that is yesterday. So we shouldn't work up to the notice that they will call everybody and tell them to work. But that's the case. Now the patients are here with us. We can't also leave them like that to go home. Yeah, some of them are injured, seriously ones. So if it's serious pain, that one we can go to the emergency. But if it's not too much of serious and they have booked you appointment, fine, that one you have to go home and come the next day. But if the thing is so serious, we need to see that we have some doctors call them, we have family medicine. The family medicine means those people are coming new hospital to the clinic. Those people are taken care of right now. So we assume, you see the crowd are here. Those crowd like this, we cannot leave them to go home. So the few ones are here, we have to take care of them, and the rest of them will go home. So that's why we are here this morning. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Christopher. Yeah, so there's a gentleman here. Let me see if he'll agree to speak with me. He's got a bit of an injury. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Now, how long have you been here? This looks like a very serious injury that you've had.
Yeah, I came on Tuesday, but when I came, the doctor wasn't available. So he told me to come on today. So I came up to now, I haven't seen him. But
how long have you been here?
Like, I came around 6.
Right, so you've been sitting here waiting since 6 o'clock.
So I'm still waiting for the doctor.
Okay, so what are the processes like? Have you taken your card? Have you been seeing any nurses? What's been happening since you came?
When I came, they took my card, but up till now, they haven't told me anything. They're supposed to check my vitals before I go and see the doctor. Up till now, they haven't called me, so I'm still waiting.
So usually when you come and they're taking the vitals, is it the nurses who do the vitals? Who does the vitals?
It's the nurses who take the vitals. So after that, then you go and see the doctor. But up to now, like, they haven't called me, so I'm still waiting.
So, were you going to wait even if it's 4 or 5 hours? Will you wait?
Yeah, I'm from Kumasi, so I purposely came here just because of this MECTA. It's called external physical. It's worrying me a lot. So I came here so that it can be removed. So that's why I'm here. So if it will take me to evening time, I'll wait.
Wow. And so you see here, this gentleman, sorry, what's your name?
I'm Moses.
So Moses here is sharing his experience of what it's been like. He's been here Tuesday, he came back again, today, hoping to talk to see the doctor. Auntie, good morning. Good morning. How long have you been here?
I just came this morning.
Have they attended to you? Has anybody seen you? Have you gotten your card? What's going on?
Put my card down.
You just put your card down?
Yes. Okay. Since around 6.
So, how long do you think it will be? I mean, are there nurses around? Have you seen anybody? Has the queue been moving? Has the queue been?
It's moving small.
Small. Okay. So since you came,
All right, so that's our colleague, Kweku David. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We'll try to check back in with him. Now, he's at the Ridge Hospital currently, and he was interacting with some patients to ask them what the situation is like for them as they wait to be attended to by medical personnel there. He also had the chance to speak to a security guard there who basically, should we call him a rebel? Because it looks as though even though the Health Services Workers Union is on strike, he, and from what he intimated, a couple of other security colleagues have decided to come to work because they felt they couldn't just leave patients to their own devices at the facility. Okay, now we'll check back in with Kweku David. I think we have him back on air, and let's see what else is happening at the Ridge Hospital currently. Kweku, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you,
right.
Kokwe.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right, great.
All right. Okay, so I'm just going to come along here and talk to a few more people. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
So how long have you been here, sir?
I came since 6 o'clock.
Since 6 a.m.?
Mm-hmm.
So as far as you're concerned, is the queue moving along?
Very, very slowly. It's only a particular sector of eye clinic people that they've called them in. But my side, it's not moving at all yet. We put our cards in there, but we've not been called, so we're waiting. Yeah, it's not easy.
Do you feel the frustration?
Really, really. A lot of people hanging around, so sort of pressure. I don't know when you're going to be called, so we are just here.
Look, it's seeming very dire out here because everybody has a challenge that they're struggling with, and yet somehow it feels as though there's no end in sight, really. I mean, for this gentleman sitting here on my right, I mean, he's been here since 6 a.m. He's frustrated with what's going on, and he says the queue has been moving, but it's moving very slowly.
Right.
And he doesn't know when he'll be called because certain people are being selected and called according to, what they deem to be more important.
And from what we understand, from what we understand, the layout or the setup of the Accra Regional Hospital is such that you wouldn't normally see long queues or people all gathered in one space like that because of the way they set it up.
No,
and
you
so
won't.
Because of this strike, it is causing a bit of a backup, longer queues, more groupings, because now the health services workers have decided to lay down their tools for the meantime. And if not, probably for the security guards who decided to come to work, it might even be more chaos there, but it looks a bit orderly because they've decided to help out. Yes, quickly, go ahead. You wanted to speak to the gentleman there.
So the gentleman I've been talking to just now says he has a suggestion for the system. What do you want to say, sir?
My suggestion is that as it goes on like this, leaders should come out quickly and meet the stakeholders so there is a solution, because sometimes it could cause your death. People are also in critical situations, and if we allow days to go by without calling people to a round table and we just allow the situation to be there, innocent people are dying and their blood will be asked from us. So as leaders, I appeal to them, they should call the stakeholders. Hospitals should not be experiencing these things at this time. I wish they should come out and talk so these things could be avoided. Yeah.
I appreciate your thoughts.
Kweku, do you have any sense of what's happening with the emergency department there?
We'll go to the emergency in a little bit and find out what is happening over there. Right now we're looking at the OPD, but the emergency is a little bit away from here, so we're going to walk over there. It took us about 5 minutes to get there, and then we'll find out what's happening there too.
Obviously, we know that the medical personnel are probably swamped, the nurses and doctors, but have you had a chance to speak with any of them to get their perspective on how this is affecting their work?
Not yet, because they seem very busy about their activities and not very willing to engage us at the moment. So hopefully we'll get one or two who will speak with us.
All right. Thank you, Kweku. We'll check back with you again in a bit just to see how things are moving along and if the situation improves. Thanks again. That's our colleague, David Kweku Sechi, reporting from the Accra Regional Hospital, also known as Rich Hospital, giving us some idea of what's happening there. Now, he's at the OPD, the outpatients department, and there are people there who, even though they're seeking services that should enable them to go home after a little while and not be admitted, there's still some urgent cases. We saw the young man who has this metal on his leg, and he says he desperately needs it to be removed because it's causing him problems, and he's been sitting there for hours waiting to be attended to. Now, Duke, if you are Kweku Agyeman-Manu, Health Minister, if you are Ignatius Bafoiwa, Employment Minister this morning, and you're seeing scenes like this, what are you doing?
Well, first of all, it must appeal to their sense of empathy. First of all, because I mean, seeing scenes like this, it's heart-wrenching. It's depressing. Early morning, when you're supposed to be in charge, ensuring that people who have to get the most basic thing society can offer, good health, are not getting it. The good thing is that the leaders are at the negotiating table, but it's difficult for them to find a balance.
And speaking of that, I'm going to refer to our City Newsroom article on that exactly. So the government met with the striking Health Services Workers Union. It ended in stalemate. This was on Tuesday. So this was a meeting between the Employment and Labour Ministry and the Health Services Workers Union. They met on Tuesday. It ended inconclusively. This was to allow members of the union, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, the Health Ministry, as well as the Controller and Accountant General's Department to address concerns raised by the workers. Now on Tuesday, they began the nationwide industrial action action in protest of unfavorable working conditions. They've left many patients stranded at public health facilities, as we've seen this morning. Now, the Deputy Labour Relations Minister, Bryce Wekubrobe, spoke to City News and said the meeting was inconclusive, but he says most of the concerns of the workers were addressed. Now, he added that he was hopeful that the members of the union would go back to work soon. He explained that something triggered something, whatever that means. He said that's why they embarked on this action, but they've met with them, they've deliberated, they need to go back to their neck, that's the Executive Council, and discuss further. This was as of Tuesday. Now, it's Thursday morning. As we can see, there's still no resolution to this. So between Tuesday and the optimism that some people spoke about, even yesterday when we spoke to the PRO of the union, he also sounded quite optimistic that they would be able to resolve things. But here we are Thursday morning, Duke, and still nothing.
Yes, and now the unions are increasingly getting aware of the fact that the National Labour Commission, which used to be the organization that every time government would use to threaten these organizations that you are an essential service, you can't go on strike. Similar thing happened, I think, months back in March with the allied health professionals, even though that was not over conditions of service, it was essentially about certification and who can get into that space. It took the Committee on Health to come, Parliamentary Committee on Health, to come and to bring some sort of sanity on that front, because the National Labour Commission failed, government negotiations failed. They had to call all of them and find a far-reaching solution to this. So this issue about their essential service, so they cannot strike, the fact that the essential is what we are seeing today, this morning.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So if they really are that essential, you should be able to, acquiesce or get to meet them halfway. Of course, governments work within budgets, so that may be the obvious justification that, well, budgets have been put across and all of that. But increasingly, our governments are getting that, people are getting that notion, or people are becoming increasingly aware of the fact that you may agree to some of these terms, but when it comes to government to give in what they have to give, they don't do it. Situation with UTAC, it's a couple of days ago. Yeah. Some member unions on various campuses are saying that what they agreed to before students came back, and the government has gone back on that, and because of that, they may go back to it again. So there's a reason why all budgets have certain contingency components. This is the time to go into that. Except we are being told that there's no contingency for other reasons. Apart from that, there's nowhere this is acceptable. It's sad. And we've seen that some of the security men being I don't know, we initially were tagging them as, but I think that they are being human.
They are being human.
Yes.
Rebels as in going against what their union has decided to do, which, in itself, I suppose they will deal with that with their union. But they saw a situation where they felt it would be untenable if they left these patients without any kind of guidance at all. So they decided to step in and go and do that.
And listening to him, he said that they look at serious cases and unserious cases. But that is from his layman conjecture and his layman, let me say, looking at the situation and trying to judge
on the face of it.
That this person is this a serious
dire
case or
situation,
not?
And
But who knows? Steps out of the maybe a serious internal condition that may need a technical or medical eye to be able to pull that out. It's not good at all. It's not good at all. Those who have the power to do something about it should do it.
Let's head back to Tamale now. Hafiz is still standing by there to give us more updates. We're going back to Kumasi at the Tamale Teaching Hospital to speak with Hafiz to see what other updates are happening on the ground there. Hello, Hafiz.
Hi, Kukui.
All right, so you're still at Tamale Teaching Hospital. Have there been any further developments with regard to patients there and the personnel that are stepping in lieu of this strike?
Well, a lot of patients are still trooping in here. Those who are not aware that the members of the Health Services Workers Union are on strike, they are still coming, and when they come, this is the only news they get to hear, that the personnel who are supposed to take their records or maybe give them some services to cross over to the doctors in the consulting rooms are not working. So a lot of them are not so happy about this situation. So there's this 63-year-old woman, Margaret, Auntie Margaret, who is coming all over from Bekwai. Her leg, recently there was a surgery in her leg, and she is supposed to go through some dressing and some medication, and her daughter took her to another facility. The condition was not improving. The daughter has decided to bring her here, and they are here and they've been left stranded here. The daughter just went to one of the nurses, and she said they have told them to wait for a doctor so that they can give them or hand them over to another doctor who can take care of her. But this old woman is in pain. She has been lamenting her frustrations. You can see the gestures she's making. She's feeling the pains and all that, and she's not getting the treatment she wants. Auntie, me more cover the City TV. So.
Yeah,
Oba ede na ye catch you.
If I catch you, said Doctor Dioro. It's a chair kakra. Dear catch them. But you catch them. When Doctor you to chair kakra. I say, I have 7:30. Yatras, Doctor, yes, the basis.
Onani say nesite.
But you're there, Papa. I said, it'll be a hebo cogu. Cropot, the child, the child, is about Cropot, the child, about this and the child. The dear Calam, and I said, as a boy, be done. Benign. Never say you call her, I say, easy. Not be as it is, I am sorry. It is a deed on Sunday, could never look on doctor. And no, I don't know. And no, I could say.
Na sese amuye den.
If I chose to say, bye, the bar say that I dare say, Doctor Bacoba, dear Kakra.
So this is a 63-year-old. She is coming all the way from Bekwai. She says she's in deep pain. Her leg, there was a surgery recently, and the daughter took her to a facility. The condition did not improve, but they have to come to the Tamale Teaching Hospital this morning. They were here as early as 7 a.m. and they have not had any response. The nurses are telling them that they
All right, so that's our colleague Hafiz Tijani speaking from the Kumasi Teaching Hospital, and he's been interacting with a 62-year-old woman who has visibly a foot injury and she needs urgent medical care. She's in a lot of pain. She's been waiting for a doctor to see to her. According to Hafiz, she's been told that there's no doctor currently available who can see to her, but as soon as one is available, they'll try to tend to her. All right, Hafiz is back with us. So Hafiz, we saw your interaction with the 62-year-old patient who is waiting patiently, or as patiently as she can, to be attended to despite her painful injury. And, you know, I think Duke said it. You've also mentioned the fact that this is a hospital that plays such an important role serving people who even live beyond, you know, the boundaries of Kumasi or the greater Kumasi area, and it's again a tertiary level facility. And so the significance of this facility, I think it's being laid bare today, just how important it is for this to be resolved so that people can be attended to.
So you saw that man coming from the Western North region. So yes, that tells you Kumasi Teaching Hospital does not serve only residents or inhabitants within the Ashanti region. People come from even the 3 northern regions to seek medical care here.
This is tragic. Now, Hafiz, so far we've been trying to see if we can speak with some either doctors or nurses just to get their perspective as well on how the strike is affecting them. Have you been successful in doing that?
Well, a lot of them are shying away from the camera. Even when we try to get close, a lot of the nurses were shying away. They do not want to be in that picture. But let's try and see if we can interact with some of the nurses who are here. So they are shying away. They don't want to speak to us. Even some of the workers here don't want to speak to us. So that is the situation here at the hospital. But the major issue is that a lot of people are stranded, a lot of people are frustrated, a lot of people are sad, a lot of people are disappointed.
All right. Maybe some might agree to speak off camera on condition of anonymity, and then you could just give us an update on what they said to you in private without revealing their identity, so that at least we can see where they're coming from as well. And we understand that they are swamped and they're overwhelmed because of the situation. Thanks so much, Hafiz. We'll check in with you again later on, if possible. All right, so that's our colleague Hafiz Tijani. Again, he's stationed at the Tamale Teaching Hospital this morning, just observing how things are proceeding. And this Health Services Workers Union strike is causing, as we can see, quite a lot of damage for patients who need medical care, urgent, even non-urgent. They're not getting it. Medical staff are overwhelmed. In some areas, we saw the footage from Tamale. Hygiene has gone to the dogs. It's a dire situation. Mortuary staff are not available to convey dead bodies and all of that. And Duke, you know what else it does? It just brings to light the fact that a lot of people don't have any other option than our public facilities. Private facilities can be extremely expensive, which is beyond the means of many of the people we're seeing today. We don't have a lot of options with regard to public health care. And a situation like this makes it even more dire.
Yeah, but it's economic. I mean, we as a society we are nowhere near answering all our economic questions. So it comes back to that point. Because if with the situation that the 63-year-old one finds herself in, he was not even thinking about private care because the means are not. It's not possible. No. For her to go to such a facility to get the best of care. And the public sector, the public facilities where he's assured of or she's assured of the best of care, however mediocre it may be if you compare it to the kind of facility or the kind of service she may get when she goes to a private hospital. She's not. That's even out of the options because.
And even with many of our private facilities, and I'm sure you know this, when it comes to cases of a certain nature, they will even refer to our public facilities because our public facilities have not only the personnel, the consultants, etc., but even some of the equipment and facilities that are needed are not available in some of our private facilities, which are often smaller, even though they may be, should we say, fancier or more modern aesthetically. Sometimes the actual equipment facilities needed are at Kolebu, Komfanochi, Tamale, etc. So you still find yourself having to go there.
But another thing there which I think needs to be addressed is also about explaining to them that it's these services that are not available. So that if she knows that this may just be a basic dressing of wound that she can get elsewhere with the. I mean, if we're still living in a very communal society. So if, for instance, you know that this is the situation which this aged person finds herself in, and she can be assisted by a family member or whatever to get that form of basic dressing of wound at a facility nearby, which will not aggravate the situation. They can do that. But as she sits there, her understanding of the issue is that doctors are on strike.
Exactly. You're right. The communication, I'm concerned about that because everyone they've spoken to so far, at least at CAF, is saying the same thing, that, there's no doctor. Doctors are on strike. But we know doctors are not on strike. So where's that news coming from? And then some are even coming there not even knowing about a strike at all. So again, the news really hasn't traveled perhaps as far as some might think, that there are people who are oblivious to all of this. They get to the hospital only to be told, you can't be served for now because there's nobody here to even take your card or register you. I mean, how tragic is that?
People should be. There should be that basic explanation to those who are coming. And this has its own implication on the on everything around that area, from the pharmacies to other people who operate everything across that enclave. CAF is a major, it draws a lot of people there and has all sorts of implications for those around. So once it's at a standstill, this is a really big issue that needs to be addressed by those who have the powers, the authorities who have the power to address the problem. Other than that, if this travels into another week, this would be too bad.
I really do hope that we hear from the Employment Minister and possibly the Health Minister as soon as possible. I mean, by all indications, a couple of days ago, even yesterday, there was a lot of optimism that this would not stretch so far. Well, maybe the day is still young, I should say. Perhaps by the time maybe even this show is over, we'll be hearing something. All right.
They were supposed to sign a memorandum of understanding. Once they've rejected that, after consulting them, it means that government will have to up the offer that they are giving to them. And it depends on how it's very sometimes very difficult on the labor side of things to be able to convince to move that. But this is a present and a real threat that everybody sees. The nation's, health system is grinding to a halt. We've seen it. At two of our biggest facilities. Yes. Something needs to be done.
All right. We'll be speaking with the PRO of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, Misbah Mohammed, for him to also give us an update on what's happening there. All right. And I suppose he's going to be joining us via Zoom. A very good morning to you, Misbah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us on Breakfast Daily.
Thank you for hooking me up.
Fantastic. Now, yes, we've seen some scenes from Tamale, and they looked very disturbing. We understand that there's a lot of sanitation issues, a lot of issues with mortuary services and having to move dead bodies. Now, between the time that report was filed and now, are there any updates you can give us? Has the situation improved somewhat, even though the health services workers are still on strike?
Thank you very much. For instance, with the cutting of dead bodies, we have been able to impress on the mortuary workers, the mortuary attendants, to at least leave some skeletal staff there, since the issue of dead bodies is a critical one. There is no need with having total withdrawal service at that end. And this they have heeded to, and have put some few men around to be able to take off dead bodies as and when the death occurs. So on that note, I think we have made some progress around that area. With the sanitation bit, the hospital fortunately hired some few staff on temporary basis who are engaged in this janitorial services. And for that reason, they have, yesterday in the evening, management had a meeting and had to recall those temporarily engaged staff to come and take care of the sanitation situation as the Health Service Workers Union embark on their industrial action. Their numbers are not huge enough to, as it were, deal with the situation properly.
Hello, Ms. Bao, can you hear me? All right, we'll try to get him back on the line. So we're speaking with Misbah Mohammed, who is the PRO for Tamale Teaching Hospital, and he was giving us some updates as to what's happened between yesterday and today. Sanitation services, he says the hospital has gone to basically recruit temporarily some cleaning staff to help with that situation. I understand we have him back on the line. Misbah.
Yes.
All right. You can continue now with the information you were giving us.
The other issue has to do with the cancellation of some planned surgical cases. As we speak, no planned cases are being done in the theaters except emergency cases. And our polyclinic has virtually been closed because new patients are not being registered. And again, it's only our emergency, the accident and emergency department that is working because they have to respond to emergency situations. And for the patients who are already on admission, issues of logistics have become topical because the workers do not have access to logistics in order to ensure continuity of care. So that one too, we are working around the clock to see what we can do in the interim to supply them with the needed logistics to ensure that there's continuity of care for at least those who are in our care already. As for those who are yet to come, we are unable to get them in because the health information staff who are in charge of registering new clients are also part of this health service workers union, and for that reason they are not at post. And for the process of confidentiality, we are not able to hire temporary staff to take care of that one. Again, because the hospital has moved from a manual system to an electronic system where we have a folderless system, the folder is seamless because you are captured into an electronic system, and you move from one point to the other without necessarily holding physical folder. And once you are not captured from the inception, no transmission can be done to any other places for you to be able to access service. This has made it difficult for us to get new clients into the hospital. But the hospital management is doing everything within its capacity to ensure that those who are already in our care are given the best of care to ensure that they get healed and discharged.
Ms. Bao, do you get the impression that patients are aware of the strike? For instance, in Tamale Teaching Hospital, where our colleague Hafiz has been talking to us, many of the patients don't seem to understand that this is a health services workers union strike. In fact, many of them have been told or assume that doctors are on strike, thus they can't receive the care that they need. Are patients at Tamale Teaching Hospital aware? Are they coming in with the knowledge that they could be facing some difficulties, or are they coming in totally unaware of what the situation is?
In fact, most of the patients we have had encounter with have come without any prior notice. They have no knowledge of the fact that a section of the workers are on strike. They only get here only to be told that because of an industrial action embarked on by a cross-section of the employees, they are unable to be, we are not able to see them, and they just would express disappointment and leave.
I wonder if it would be feasible to somehow communicate to people that if you don't have an emergency situation, perhaps to hang back at home until further notice, maybe that would ease some of the pressure at the facilities. I'm not sure if that's a feasible suggestion, but thank you, Ms. Bao, for speaking to us.
In as much as we are not getting people away from the facility, we just want to announce that for emergency cases, proper arrangements have been made to ensure that anyone who has an emergency situation should not stay away from the hospital, but must report to the hospital and would promptly be seen. Except to say, like I said earlier, that we have some logistics constraints because those who are supplying the logistics, that's the supply officers and supply managers, including procurement managers, are also part of the industrial action.
Right.
But by and large, for those who report to the hospital with emergency situations, we are ready to ensure that they receive the best of care.
All right, thank you.
Also,
thank you, Mohammed.
Suggestion that you have brought up.
Oh, so that was Ms. Bao Mohammed, the PRO for Tamale Teaching Hospital, giving us an update on the situation at the hospital. So mortuary service workers, some of them have agreed to come back to work to deal with that situation. Some temporary janitorial staff have also been employed to help with the sanitation issues at the hospital. And we'll get more updates as and when we have them. But essentially, we want the government or the actors or stakeholders who can rectify this to step up, because people are suffering at the end of the day on both sides, and mainly the patients who have absolutely nothing to do with
whatever
this.
is going on. And this has really proved the point that people in the health sector, professionals in the health sector, not only at the very top, but at the base as well, constitute essential service.
Thank you.
Once and for all, the issues should be resolved so that it doesn't become a recurring issue.
Duke Mensel Poku, our parliamentary correspondent, thank you so much for taking time to join us on Breakfast Daily this morning.
You're welcome.
And thank you for watching. Thanks to all our correspondents as well who've been doing their job. Kweku David will be back here soon, we are sure.